r/AskReddit. What's the strangest date you've ever been on? Okay, I have never shared this story online before, but here goes. I was going to have a second date with this girl. She knew of 3 parties happening on the same night, so she suggested that we hit all 3. Sounded good to me, so off we go. At party 1, her best friend from college is there that she hasn't seen in 4 years. They immediately run off together, and I'm left with the friend's boyfriend having a drink. I think to myself, this is no big deal. She hasn't seen her friend in a long time, and the night has a lot more to go. She comes back after a while and suggests we head on to the other party. Great. Arrive at second party. My date immediately runs off with some other friends. Like, Tim, oh my god, how are you doing? And dashes across the party to find him. I slowly follow behind, but then they keep scurrying on to talk to other people without the girl making it clear that she wanted me to come. I feel really awkward because she doesn't introduce me or say anything about me. I'm just an awkward guy there that no one knows. I get tired of that and go to the bathroom, where I find that the door has been ripped off its hinges. I find a screwdriver and fix the door before using the bathroom. Fast forward 30 minutes, my date finds me and suggests we go to the final party, but this time, her friend Tim is going to join us. Okay. Arrive at third party. As soon as we walk in the door, Tim says he needs cigarettes, and the girl and Tim run out for cigarettes and leave me at this new party with all these other people I don't know. They are gone for 45 minutes, by which time I decide that this date isn't working out and I should just go home. When my date comes back with cigarettes, I tell her I'm leaving, and she flips out. She starts screaming at me in front of everyone about how she was going to have sex with me later, and how I ruined everything. Then she proceeds to scream, "You're not leaving me, I'm leaving you," after which she bolts out and slams the door. Then everyone at this other party, whom I don't know, is staring at me while my date, who brought me there, has abandoned me. Someone eventually comes and offers me a drink. I stay for another hour and laugh it off with the people at the party. I'm still friends with some of those fine people today. Edit. No, I didn't fix the door on Magnolia Street. Edit 2. There are lots of ways to fix a door that comes off its hinges with just a screwdriver, assuming the screws are still there. Also, I had a toolbox under the sink, so there was more than just a screwdriver. A few people noticed that I was doing it and thought that I lived in that apartment. Eventually the apartment's resident, a nice girl as I recall, came to check on me and was appreciative that I was fixing it. Never saw her again, though. That one is easy. Met this girl online, and the way the conversations went, it was always friendly, getting to know you type banter. After a few online conversations, we meet up at a bar by her. The plans for the evening were to have drinks there, then go play Donkey Kong Country at her place. Being the oblivious male I am, I genuinely was excited to play some DKC on Super Nintendo. We meet up at the bar and things go fine. I wasn't really attracted to her at all, but she was nice, and we had an alright time at the bar. So we get back to her place and start watching TV. I look around and don't see a Super Nintendo. Thought maybe it was in her bedroom. I don't mention it because I don't want to be rude. She makes some drinks. We're watching Drunk History when all of a sudden she looks at me with murder in her eyes. Are we going to stop playing games? I look at her, smiling, trying to play it off. Do you mean Donkey Kong Country? She really didn't appreciate that. She scoffs and then proceeds to chide me about how guys are always wanting to play games and want sex. I told her the only game I was wanting to play was DKC. This is when it got weird. She gets up off the couch, calmly, walks to the kitchen and pulls a butcher knife out of somewhere. She just stands in the kitchen, still with the look of murder in her eyes, and stares me down. She doesn't move at all, just staring with the butcher knife at her side. I look back for what feels like a few minutes, and then I jump up and dash for the front door. I didn't even bother closing the door. Behind me I hear the door slam hard, and she's shouting at the top of her lungs, "Fucking asshole, playing games. Fuck you. So a night of what I was hoping to be relaxing, friendly conversation, and Donkey Kong Country turned into my maybe I could have been murdered dating story. TL. Doctor, met friendly girl online for drinks and hopefully Donkey Kong Country on SNES. Felt like I was going to be murdered by the end of it. Edit. So a lot of people have been asking what she could have wanted. Here's my guess, based on how she was acting the further we hung out at her place. I'm only assuming, so don't take it for gospel. This was before Netflix and chill, so I think this was her way of getting me back there for something other than EKC, but she didn't want to be super upfront and or awkward about it. Of course, at the time, I didn't read it that way, and based on how she was acting, I think she assumed this is what happened with all guys on dates. Or she had super low self-esteem. Again, I'm just assuming from my observations. Well, this one time I took my dates to dinner at what seemed to be a front for some type of illicit activity. We had just moved to a new area and we wanted to check out the local shops and restaurants. While we were wandering, we stumbled into a tiny Italian place. Back home, the small hole-in-the-wall restaurants always have the best food, so we were excited to give it a shot. Big curtains were covering the entry windows, so we had no idea what was inside until we trudged through the door. Inside, we were met with emptiness and silence. We both immediately thought the store was closed, and I spun around and searched for the store hours posted somewhere on the door. While I was looking, we heard a heavy thud as a young woman barked, "I'll be right with you." She appeared, greeted us confusingly, and asked us what she could do for us. Which, looking back, is probably a red flag. But we were naive and hungry, so we said we were there for dinner. She looked puzzled, but motioned us to follow her to a booth right by the entrance. She then disappeared into the back, and we heard a muffled conversation between our hostess and a man. The consensus was basically they were not prepared for us, or didn't know how to proceed. I asked my date if she wanted to split, but she insisted we stay for the story. The square-shaped balding man burst through the kitchen door with 2 glasses of water for us, and in a very loud and deep voice he explained that it was his birthday and we would eat what he felt like making us. We wholeheartedly agreed. We waited around 30 minutes, and he again returned with 3 large bowls of spaghetti and meat sauce. He placed 2 bowls in front of us, and 1 next to me for himself. He sat with us and ate. We had light and awkward conversation with him during, and he kept asking us jokingly if we were cops or with the health board. He was incredibly nervous about us, so my date kept cracking corny puns or awful jokes because he would forgibly laugh at anything designed with humor. We talked about our lives, the cities we've lived in, our pets. He had a teacup chihuahua named Princess, and his wife. He decided we were good people and didn't change us for the meal. We wished him a happy birthday, he hugged us, and we went on our way. Easily the best spaghetti I've ever had in my life. The restaurant, unfortunately, no longer exists. About 8 months ago, Tinder date. She suggests brunch at Maximum's Wine Dive on Bikini. We're in Dallas. I pick her up at the Arpeggio Apartments in Victory Park. She's not ready, so she buzzes me in. Her apartment is beautiful, lots of high dollar stuff, no roommate. We go to Maximum's at 1 PM. She drinks an entire bottle of champagne by herself. We leave, and in the car she says she wants to stop by a shop in West Village. I park in the parking garage and get out. I look for her, and don't see her. I hear a noise, so I look around my car and she's squatting next to the wall peeing on the ground. We go into the shop. She takes a few dresses into the changing room and tells me to come over. I stand outside the changing room and she pulls me inside. She completely undresses, gets in the clothes, asks me what I think, undresses, gets in more clothes, etc. She takes about $1,500 worth of clothes to the counter and tells the cashier she really has to pee. Cashier says sorry. My date begs, so cashier relents and takes her into the back, but it's too late. The damage is done. She also buys a new pair of pants. On the way back to her apartment, She answers a call and starts talking in a foreign language that I can't place. Couldn't even guess the continent. She's very nervous and upset. She hangs up and tells me she has to go to her other apartment at the Cirque, also in Victory Park. She asks me to go in with her. We go into her apartment, which is also completely beautiful and belongs only to her. She has a badass telescope that I start playing with. In the mirror, I see her open a safe and put something in her purse. She tells me we need to leave and asks me to take her to my house. We go to my house and she instantly passes out. Stays passed out for about 6 hours. Wakes up, wants Dairy Queen. It's closed and she starts crying. I take her to Sonic. She gets a cheeseburger, a chili dog, cheese fries, and a sundae. We come home. She eats it and throws up. Passes out on my couch. I read and go to sleep. Next morning she asks if she can stay and watch football. I tell her I have plans and need to take her home. She says she can't go to either of her apartments. I tell her too bad, I have plans, and drop her off at Cirque. She texted asking when we could see each other again, but I never responded. First and only blind date during college, set up by a friend. Upon meeting she immediately tells me that she's a mom and makes every guy she plans on sleeping with take a blood test to screen for STDs. Great start. We went to dinner. She wasn't my type. I wasn't her type. After an awkward dinner we both explained this to the other, which kind of cleared the air. Wound up ditching work and going to the bar with her after calling my friend and telling him and his G/F to meet us out. I remember saying to him, you better get out here and buy me a drink for this nut job you set me up with. It turned into just another party night in college. I figured if nothing else I met someone with mutual friends to party with, and it was actually a good time. Shooting darts, drinking, etc. Once dating was off the table, she was pretty fun to hang out with. We were all out from 7 PM till 2 AM. At the end of the night she was being a typical drunk person, insisting on driving home. I convinced her to walk through campus to her place by saying I'd walk with her then crash at my friend's place, which was a couple blocks away. I don't remember why we couldn't ride with them. I think the backseat was full or something. Me walking with her was literally the only thing that made her agree to not get in a car at a time when she couldn't walk straight. After a very cold, windy walk through campus in early spring without a jacket, we get to her house, and I was freezing. With the wind chill coming off the lake, it had to have dropped the temp to around 30 degrees. With another 4 to 6 blocks to walk yet, I asked if I could just come in to warm up. No sooner do I get in the door than she's on me, tongue down the throat, legs wrapped around me, pushed up against the sink. After the shock I pulled back and said, I don't think either of us want to do this. And she flipped her shit. Get the F*** out. She screamed at me and shit. I was so in shock and drunk that I tried to talk her down for like a minute or two before realizing she was absolutely hammered and batshit crazy. I noped the hell out of there and walked to my friend's house. He was outside smoking a cigarette when I got there, and I basically tore him a new one. Told him the entire story. I find out the next couple days that the crazy chick told his girlfriend that I had tried to force myself on her or some bullshit. I guess to save face or something. And that she fought me off. Thankfully my friend realized her story didn't match facts about time, lack of marks on me, etc. However, his girlfriend believed the crazy chick because they were close friends, and it eventually ended our friendship. She never brought accusations against me, and that was my last semester there anyway, so I didn't have to deal with her again. A couple years later I was back in that college town for a wedding I was in with some of my old friends. Saw this couple again because they were invited. Crazy chick actually met up with his girlfriend at the wedding, even though she was uninvited. It was in a public park, so they basically walked around away from the wedding, and my friend let me know that crazy chick had doubled down on her story and was afraid to approach the reception because I was there. The way he said it led me to think that over the years his G/F convinced him I was lying about the whole thing. That was the last time I spoke to him. It all still bothers me to this day. Oh, I have one for this. I met this girl at a social thing on campus one time. She was cute and weird and seemed cool, and she was talking about her art and stuff, and I was all like, I like art because I actually like boobs, and she had 2 of them, which I find is the optimal number. So she invited me back to her place to check out her art and do some finger painting. So I drive her back to her apartment, and she tells me to park anywhere because there's not assigned spots. Cool. So we go inside, and she's showing me her stuff and pulls out the paint. Turns out finger painting was literal and not a euphemism, but I'm not deterred. So we are painting and flirting in her bedroom. I playfully put paint on her nose, and she returns the favor. Everything is going great. The phone rings, and she has paint on her hands, so I pick it up. Hello, cute/weird girl's residence. On the other end of the line. Who the fuck is this? This is Cappuccino Breakfast. Who is this? This is cute/weird girl's boyfriend. Put her on the phone. So, I hand her the phone and she doesn't even blink. She's all smiles and I hear her say, yeah, we are over here painting. You should come hang out. She hangs up the phone and my jaw is on the floor. She's all like, oh, that was my friend Mike. He's going to come hang out with us. I look my phone. Oh wow, it's already 1 AM. I didn't realize the time. So, I make my excuses and nope out of there. Walk out to my car, and it isn't here. I walk back to her apartment and knock on the door. It turns out that they tow cars without passes starting at midnight, and we were having so much fun she lost track of time and didn't realize it was that late. She also doesn't have a car, so she can't take me to the tow place. So, I get to wait for her boyfriend to show up. She introduces us, explains the situation, and then he drives me to the tow place, just the 2 of us. We drive in the most complete awkward silence I've ever experienced. I swear he didn't even put on the radio. When we get to the tow place, the only guy working is out on a tow, so I have to wait again. He turns to look at me for the first time. Do I need to wait? The tow place looked like the kind of spot people get murdered at, but I decided that was preferable to another awkward minute alone with this guy, so I bid him adieu. The tow guy showed up 20 minutes later, and I paid $60 to get my car out of impound and learn a valuable lesson. Back in my days of using Tinder quite frequently, I went on a few dates with some quite nice people and some others who were just complete whack jobs. One guy, the first Tinder date I'd ever been on, commented about 15 minutes into the date that he preferred girls without makeup on and made wiping motions at my face. Found out later on in the date that he worked as one of those people who stood on the street with an iPad and asked people if they had a few minutes to take a survey, which only added to his gentlemanly character. I had a girl, once again, only around 15 minutes into the date, ask what I was looking for out of Tinder, and then informed me that she had a boyfriend, not mentioned in our previous online conversations, who wasn't really okay with her dating around, but what could he really do? Later on that date, she invited me back to her house to meet her cats. Not knowing what this possible innuendo meant, I politely declined. I've lost 2 different articles of clothing, a Cobain Seek beautiful green cardigan and a Breakfast Club John Bender style vintage denim jacket at guys' houses, my fault there I will admit, whom have just completely ignored my requests to please just find my fucking clothes and I will leave you alone. I do not want another date, I just want my wardrobe back. Both of these pieces have still not found their way back to me, but the real cream de la cream is Jack. A lovely, nerdy seeming guy, who after a few drinks, had a much lower alcohol tolerance than I, admitted to being an online drug dealer that made around $5,000 a week, who only sold drugs he really believed would not cause harm to people, like pot and mushrooms. Jack still remains to be one of the most interesting and intelligent people I've ever met. We talked for hours about philosophy, books, traveling, the difference between money washing and laundering, He went into great detail once about how he stole a GoPro camera from his previous work through a feat worthy of Mission Impossible movie, changed the stock take numbers, put in a box, placed the box in the garbage, monitored the security guard's routine, and went back one night to claim his reward. I went on 2 more dates with him out of sheer curiosity and was kept well entertained. He's dating a nice hippie girl now and recently went to Iceland. I gave up Tinder late last year, and, while I have absolutely no regrets, I do sometimes miss the weirdness of it all. Whoop, I got one. This was quite a while ago, maybe 15 years or so. I can't remember how I met this particular young lady, but I think it was something of a fix-up. I can't remember her name either. We had agreed to meet up in Cow Hollow, which is a neighborhood in San Francisco, not far from the bay. We must have agreed to a walk or coffee or something, because we didn't really have any plans that I can recall. This was a Saturday or a Sunday, and it was in the afternoon. So, we are walking, chatting, seems to be working out okay. Neither, OMG we are soulmates nor ag, this is painful, somewhere in between. We end up meandering down to Marina Boulevard, which is right on the water, and has a number of very nice ye old times, for the US, houses with nice views of the bay. Very swank. It turns out that it was a day for open houses, which means that if you're selling your house, your agent arranges times when people, ideally prospective buyers, can enter your home and wander around trying to figure out if their furniture would look good there. Ideally, the agent gently discourages people who don't look legit, especially for the upper end homes. On a whim, we decided to go into one of these as it's not often you would get a chance to view some of the nicer Victorians in San Francisco. As might be expected, the agent mistook us for a couple. We were both in our early 30s. Well, I was, and I assume she was too. I must have asked her age at some point, but I don't recall. We were both dressed reasonably nicely, so I guess we passed the sniff test by the agent. For whatever reason, she, the agent, decided that we were potential prospects worth pursuing. As such, we, the young lady and I, were suddenly pushed into a position of pretending we were an established couple looking for a home. Our story got more and more intricate as the agent gave us a tour through the house. We hadn't discussed any of this ahead of time, it just emerged spontaneously. For example, it turned out that I have a bowling night where I go out with my friends and often was wont to leave my bowling ball and shoes just inside the door instead of putting them away properly. She, on the other hand, had a mother that would tend to visit and stay for weeks on end. You get the idea. What made this strange is that it quickly became kind of surreal and existentially confusing. I did not know this person at all, and yet, we were suddenly in a position that was growing more and more emotionally intimate. I was projecting some of the weirdest couple stuff I could imagine onto her in front of a complete stranger, and we couldn't break character to discuss what was really happening. This lasted for 30 minutes or so, and then we left. I walked her back to our meeting place, and we said our goodbyes. She let it be known at some point during the day that she was really into her career right then and wasn't looking for anything serious. For various reasons, I wasn't looking that hard either. I didn't get the he's such a creep vibe, but we never spoke again after that day. I can't remember if I tried to follow up or just let it go. Very strange. Ed just got off the tube at Camden to wander down to the market. I was by myself with my headphones in when an Oxfam guy stopped me. I tried to get away to avoid all the spiel about donating and firmly said sorry, I'm not gonna sign up today. He says to me, but you stopped. Why? We had a conversation for a good 10 to 15 minutes where he's basically telling me I'm gorgeous and has not trying to sign me up because I said no. In the end he says we should swap numbers quickly and that he gets off work in not too long and I should meet him later for a drink. Fedos. I wait at a coffee shop for the call, then meet him in a bar with all of his work friends. It ends up being a really good night playing cards and drinking, and I even missed my last train home to the Midlands and work the next day. It's once his friends disappear that he gets weird. He picked up some food as we were on the way to crash at his, and at the ticket gates, it passed through already, so didn't see exactly what happens. He and one of the staff start fully shouting at each other, food all over the floor. They cause such a scene and am mortified. The entire tube journey home he wouldn't shut up, and I and a total stranger both agreed he shouldn't have been shouting, though she was just doing her job. During a stroll back through a park on the way to his home, we decide to sit on the grass to talk, where we end up just fully arguing about politics, charity and all sorts of pretentious shit. He made me cry. He wouldn't leave off, even though I didn't want to discuss these things. Back at his house and trying to just get my head down and sleep and get out of there ASAP in the morning, while has just getting really offended that I won't kiss him, and then starts screaming about his ear feeling blocked and how painful it is. I then had to nurse him for about an hour while absolutely exhausted in a complete stranger's house. Even though there's nothing I could do, it was literally just a block day, like what happens on planes. In the morning, I've never tried to leave so fast in my life, but he insisted we went for breakfast. On the way I tell him I'm just gonna have a coffee because eating first thing makes me feel sick, and once again he's shouting at me because he's hungry but won't eat alone. I insist I go home now. He walks me back and hugs me goodbye, saying he'll miss me. I'm usually sad on my way home from London, but this time I was ecstatic. The next day he messages me to say what a good time has had, he can't wait to see me again, and that I've left my socks at his house and am free to come retrieve them whenever. Goodbye socks. Not a date as such, but a hookup. I'd been chatting to him online for weeks, and he was constantly telling me all the things he wanted to do with me. I'm gonna give you the best oral you've ever had, and we're gonna fuck for hours, and by the time I'm done with you, you won't be able to walk, sort of thing. I was actually quite excited about it by the time it was time to do it. He had told me that he would pick me up, take me to dinner, and then take me back to his place before dropping me home again. Gets to about an hour before pickup time and he's like, I can't make it all the way to where you live, 30-minute drive, can you meet me in the middle of town? So I caught a bus, I don't drive, and he's like, let's just have dinner at Macca's. I was like, alrighty then. Finished dinner and has like, okay, we will head back to the car and be off. Get into the car, and he drives around for a bit while we were talking. He pulls up in some empty car park in the middle of town. He's like, it's too far to drive back to my place and then bring you back over your side of town. Let's just fuck here. I was like, okay then. So get in the back of his car and has like, babe, please blow me. Which I had no issue with. I actually love giving head. But I had done literally 3 sucks and has like, fuck, if you don't stop I'm gonna blow. And I was like, what? I haven't even started yet. He then begs to fuck me, and I thought, oh, maybe he will like swap between what we're doing every now and then so it lasts. Nope. He was wanking as I was trying to remove my pants in the back of his car. I lay back, and he literally pushes in twice and comes everywhere. I wasn't even sure that he was in properly. I literally said, are you fucking kidding me? What was that? And I'm the most patient, relaxed person when it comes to sex. I've been with guys that blow really quick and it's fine if they warn me beforehand. But to carry on for weeks about how it's going to be the best sex point of my life and then give me that, get fucked mate. He texted me a few days later and he was like, so we had fun the other night, hey babe, wanna meet up again soon? And all I sent back was lol. No, never heard from him again. Thank you so much for watching the whole video. Please leave a like and subscribe.